Have you ever met someone who didn't look like a millionaire, but later you found out they owned multiple businesses, properties, or even entire companies? The truth is, the wealthiest people around us often don't show it. They walk past us in grocery stores, sit quietly at airports, or even live next door, and you would never know they're worth millions, maybe even billions. In this video, we're going to uncover 10 powerful signs someone is secretly wealthy. And here's the twist, these signs have nothing to do with flashy cars, big mansions, or designer clothes. In fact, the richest people often hide behind simplicity. So stay with me till the end, because sign number 10 will completely change the way you look at people around you, and maybe even the way you look at yourself. Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you're serious about building wealth and understanding the mindset of the rich. Hit the like button if you believe wealth is about more than appearances. Now, let's begin. Sign number 1, they don't flash their wealth, they hide it. The first sign of someone who is secretly wealthy is simple, you wouldn't know it. Unlike those who rent luxury cars just for Instagram, secretly wealthy individuals often understate their success. Think about Warren Buffett, one of the richest men alive. Worth over $100 billion, yet he still lives in the same house he bought in 1958 for $31,500. No gold chains, no oversized diamond rings, no 10-car garage. Just a quiet man living a quiet life, with unimaginable wealth behind the scenes. Why do they do this? Because true wealth craves security, not attention. When you see someone constantly showing off branded clothes, designer bags, rented Lamborghinis, chances are they're trying to look rich, not actually wealthy. Secretly wealthy people know that wealth shines best in private. They don't feel the need to prove it to strangers, because the real proof is in their bank accounts, investments, and assets. Let me share a story. A friend once told me about a man he used to see at a local diner, jeans, old sneakers, nothing special. He drove a beat-up Toyota. No one paid attention to him. Years later, he discovered that same man owned half the real estate in the town and was worth hundreds of millions. His philosophy was simple, why show off to people I don't owe anything to? Lesson you should learn, if someone around you is unusually humble, avoids showing off, and lives below their means, don't be too quick to assume they're struggling. They might just be quietly stacking wealth. If you're watching this and you want to build wealth, remember, stop trying to look rich. Focus on being rich. Sign number 2, they value time more than money. Here's a deep truth, secretly wealthy people treat time as their most valuable asset. While others chase money endlessly, the wealthy understand that money can always be made again, but time, once lost, is gone forever. That's why you'll notice something subtle about them, they rarely waste time. They don't engage in endless gossip, meaningless scrolling, or arguments that go nowhere. Instead, they focus their hours on value creation, investments, relationships, and growth. Real example, consider Elon Musk. Love him or hate him, one thing is undeniable, he guards his time fiercely. He breaks his schedule into 5-minute blocks. That's how he runs Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, and more, while still finding time for his family. Now, not everyone is Elon Musk, but secretly wealthy people understand the same principle. If you notice someone who prioritizes efficiency, respects their calendar, and even pays others to handle things they could technically do themselves, chances are they know their time is worth far more than money. Lesson in this, when someone hires a gardener, a cook, or even uses delivery services while living a modest life, don't assume they're lazy. Many times, it's a wealth mindset at play. They know every hour spent doing low-value work is an hour they could be investing in wealth creation. If you want to build wealth, ask yourself, are you treating your time like it's priceless? Or are you trading it for pennies? Think about this. The average person often says, I don't have time. Yet those same people binge-watch TV for 5 hours straight, scroll endlessly on social media, or spend weekends complaining about their jobs. Secretly wealthy people, they think differently. They know time is the ultimate currency. Money can multiply, but time only diminishes. I once met a man who seemed completely ordinary. He was always busy, always moving. He wore simple polo shirts, drove a Toyota Corolla, and lived in a modest home. You'd never guess he was worth over $50 million. When I asked him his secret, he told me, everyone trades money for time, but I learned early to trade money to buy back my time. He explained that instead of mowing his lawn or fixing his plumbing, he paid others. Why? Because the 2 hours he saved could be spent closing a business deal worth thousands. That's the hidden clue. If you notice someone who outsources tasks even when it doesn't look like they're rich, it may be because they understand the value of time better than anyone else. Lesson in this, the truly wealthy don't brag about money, they brag about freedom. Freedom to choose how they spend their hours. If you want to move closer to wealth, start asking, is this the best use of my time? Or can I buy my time back so I can create more value? Sign number 3, they have a calm confidence. The third sign of someone who is secretly wealthy is their calm, unshakable confidence. Here's why: when you don't have to worry about bills, debts, or survival, your energy changes. You move through life with less desperation. You don't feel the need to dominate conversations, prove yourself, or show off. The secretly wealthy often carry a quiet aura. They don't need to shout, they don't need to be the loudest in the room. Instead, they observe, listen, and speak only when necessary. Think of Jeff Bezos in the early days. When he was building Amazon, he was often underestimated. He didn't wear flashy suits or shout about being the future richest man alive. He simply kept working, kept building, while maintaining a calm presence. By the time the world noticed, Amazon had already reshaped the global economy. I remember being at a seminar where people were networking. There was one man sitting quietly in the corner, sipping water, smiling occasionally, not trying to pitch or boast like everyone else. He looked almost ordinary. Later, I found out he was a multi-millionaire investor who had funded several startups. He didn't feel the need to prove his worth, he already knew it. True confidence comes from within. When you're secretly wealthy, your bank account is proof enough. You don't need to prove it to strangers. That's why calmness is such a subtle, yet powerful sign. If you want to radiate true wealth, work on building your inner security. Confidence built on money alone fades, but confidence built on discipline, skills, and investments lasts forever. Sign number 4, they avoid loud luxury and choose quiet quality. Here's something interesting: the secretly wealthy don't chase loud luxury, they prefer quiet quality. What does that mean? Instead of flashy, logo-covered designer clothes, they go for subtle, timeless pieces that most people wouldn't even notice. Instead of bright sports cars, they might drive a modest but reliable vehicle. Why? Because wealth whispers. In fact, one of the biggest giveaways that someone isn't wealthy is when they constantly flaunt brands. For example, Mark Zuckerberg, the billionaire founder of Facebook, famously wears the same simple gray t-shirt almost every day. Not because he can't afford Versace or Gucci, but because he values mental energy and simplicity more than showing off. His wealth isn't in what he wears, it's in the empire he controls. I once knew a woman who always carried a plain leather handbag. No logos, no labels, nothing flashy. But here's the secret: it was a Hermes handbag worth $15,000. Only those who truly understood luxury knew its value. To everyone else, it looked like just another bag. That's the subtlety of the secretly wealthy. They invest in quality, not noise. Lesson in this: quiet luxury isn't about impressing others, it's about investing in things that last. Secretly wealthy people choose quality because it aligns with their mindset, long-term value over short-term flash. Next time you feel the urge to buy something just to impress others, stop and ask, am I buying this for me, or for the approval of strangers? Sign number 5, they're debt-free, or use debt very strategically. Here's a sign most people overlook: secretly wealthy people either avoid debt completely, or they use it like a weapon. Let's face it, the average person drowns in debt: car loans, credit cards, payday loans, buy now, pay later schemes. And the sad truth, most of it is for things that lose value the moment you buy them. Secretly wealthy people think differently. They don't use debt to look rich. They use debt to get richer. A friend of mine once told me about his uncle who looked like a retired teacher. Lived in a simple home, wore old shirts, drove a 15-year-old Honda. Nobody thought much of him. But what they didn't know, he owned over 50 rental properties, all bought with smartly leveraged loans. He used the bank's money to acquire assets that paid him every month. Today, he collects passive income in the hundreds of thousands. Meanwhile, his neighbors still struggle to pay off car notes for vehicles that keep losing value. If you notice someone who never seems stressed about bills, avoids unnecessary loans, and always pays in cash for everyday things, they may be secretly wealthy. Because only those who understand money deeply know that debt can either enslave you or set you free. Ask yourself, am I using debt to impress others or to build wealth? If it's the first, you're digging a hole. If it's the second, you're building a ladder. Sign 6, they build networks quietly. Another subtle sign of hidden wealth: they build powerful networks quietly. Here's the truth most people miss: wealth is rarely built alone. It's built in networks, friendships, partnerships, mentorships, communities. The secretly wealthy know this. That's why they invest time in relationships instead of chasing clout. Think about the tech world. Many billionaires, from Bill Gates to Elon Musk, built their wealth not just from ideas, but from networks of investors, engineers, advisors, and friends who pushed them forward. I once attended a small local charity event. Nothing fancy, just a fundraiser for kids. There was one older man sitting quietly, talking politely with people. He wasn't flashy, didn't draw attention. Later, I found out he was a silent partner in multiple companies, worth tens of millions. His secret: he built relationships everywhere he went. Waiters, neighbors, employees, everyone respected him. And in return, doors kept opening for him. If you see someone who values connections over possessions, who invests in people rather than just products, you might be looking at hidden wealth. Because wealth isn't just money, it's access. Instead of asking, how much can I earn this month, start asking, who can I connect with that will expand my opportunities for years to come? Sign number 7, they talk about money differently. Pay close attention to this one, because it's subtle, yet powerful. Secretly wealthy people talk about money in terms of growth and value, not in terms of price or spending. Here's the difference. The average person says, that costs too much. The secretly wealthy person asks, what return will this give me? Let's say they see a $1,000 seminar. Most people think, that's expensive. A secretly wealthy person thinks, if this knowledge helps me make an extra $10,000 next year, it's a bargain. I once overheard two people at a cafe. One was complaining about the price of coffee, saying, I can't believe this is $5. The other smiled and said, that's the cheapest $5 investment I'll make today. I've met more business partners over coffee than in boardrooms. Guess who turned out to be the wealthier one? The secretly wealthy speak in terms of assets, growth, investments, and opportunities. They don't obsess over small costs. They obsess over long-term gains. If you want to think like the wealthy, start changing your money language. Stop asking, how much does this cost? Start asking, what is the value this brings me? Sign 8, they never stop learning. Here's something fascinating. Secretly wealthy people often behave like students, not like know-it-alls. The average person says, school is done, I've learned enough. But the wealthy know that education doesn't end with a diploma, it continues for life. For example, Bill Gates reads about 50 books a year. Warren Buffett spends 80% of his day reading. Oprah Winfrey says books opened the door to her billion-dollar empire. Notice the pattern. Wealthy people feed their minds as much as their bank accounts. I once met a man at an airport who looked completely normal, casual clothes, old sneakers, simple backpack. But when we started talking, I realized he was constantly learning. He carried not one, but 3 different books, plus a notebook filled with investment ideas. Later, I discovered he was a self-made millionaire who had built several companies. His secret, every free moment was a chance to learn. If you notice someone who always seeks knowledge, who asks deep questions, who attends seminars, reads books, and studies new skills even when they already made it, that's a major sign of secret wealth. If you want to be wealthy, treat learning like oxygen. Don't stop at school. Don't stop at one course. Stay curious, stay hungry, and never stop feeding your mind. Sign number 9, they blend into the crowd, but their results stand out. Another surprising sign. The secretly wealthy often blend in. They don't dress like celebrities. They don't try to stand out in public. They might sit quietly at a cafe, shop at Walmart, or travel economy class even when they could easily buy first-class tickets. But here's the twist, while they look ordinary, their results are extraordinary. Consider Ingvar Kamprad, the founder of IKEA. Despite being a billionaire, he was often seen flying economy, driving an old Volvo, and shopping at flea markets. To the public, he was just another face in the crowd. Yet, behind the scenes, his company was transforming global retail. A neighbor of mine once told me about a man who always wore the same old jacket and shoes. People thought he was struggling. But one day, the local news revealed he had quietly donated millions to build schools and hospitals. His wealth wasn't for display, it was for impact. The secretly wealthy know that attention can be dangerous. Flashy displays attract envy, scams, even crime. Blending in keeps them safe, while their results, their companies, investments, and legacies make the noise for them. Stop chasing attention. Focus on building results so undeniable that you don't need to announce them. The world will notice on its own. Sign number 10, they raise their children differently. The final sign, and perhaps the most powerful, is how secretly wealthy people raise their children. Here's the difference. The average parent teaches their kids to get good grades, find a stable job, and don't take risks. The secretly wealthy, they teach their kids about money, independence, and responsibility. Warren Buffett famously told his children, you will get enough money to do anything, but not enough to do nothing. In other words, he wanted them to be independent, not spoiled. I once knew a wealthy family who lived in a modest house, even though they could afford a mansion. Their kids went to public schools, did chores, and worked part-time jobs as teenagers. Why? Because the parents believed true wealth wasn't just money, it was character, resilience, and independence. Today, those children run successful businesses of their own. If you notice parents who teach their kids about saving, investing, responsibility, and gratitude, even when they look ordinary, you might be seeing a secretly wealthy family. If you want generational wealth, don't just build riches for yourself. Teach your children how to manage and multiply it. Otherwise, it disappears after one generation. So, let's recap. The 10 signs someone is secretly wealthy. 1. They don't flash their wealth, they hide it. 2. They value time more than money. 3. They carry a calm confidence. 4. They avoid loud luxury, preferring quiet quality. 5. They're debt-free, or use debt strategically. 6. They build networks quietly. 7. They talk about money differently. 8. They never stop learning. 9. They blend into the crowd but stand out in results. 10. They raise their children differently. The truth is, wealth isn't always loud. In fact, the wealthiest people often walk right past you, and you'd never know. Because real wealth doesn't need validation. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't need to prove itself. So next time you see someone living simply, humbly, quietly, don't underestimate them. They may be building an empire in silence. And perhaps, so should you. If this video opened your eyes, hit that like button. If you want to join a community of people learning the secrets of wealth, subscribe right now and turn on the notification bell. Because in our next video, we're going to dive even deeper into the hidden habits of millionaires and billionaires, the things they'll never teach you in school. Remember, wealth whispers. Don't chase applause, chase freedom.